And we are the Non-Prophets. I am the completely unprepared Denis Loubet, along with Jamie Boone, Kevin Stein, and a special guest operative and fixer known only as Johnny. Dum, dum, dum. And unprepared means I have no special intro, so I'm just going to wing this sucker. We're here from the at the
Free
Thought Library in Austin, Texas.
At 1507 West Katy Lane.
Yeah. And what is the date? The date is
January 18th.
January 18th. But the show will air tomorrow on the 19th.
That is the correct date that I should have said.
Mm-hmm.
January 19th.
Or rather, shall I say, the show will end today on the 19th. There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
So we can pretend we're being live.
We've rehearsed this many times.
Yeah.
It's going
Yeah.
exactly as we scripted.
You can tell.
Yes.
And so this show is sponsored by the ACA, a nonprofit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism and the separation of church and state. If you want to learn more about the ACA, you can call their voicemail at 512-220-6561 or visit their website at www.atheist-community.org. And the Non-Prophets broadcasts supposedly every first and third Sunday of each month. From 3 to 4:30 Central Time. You can join the Non-Prophets chat room by following the directions at www.nonprophetsradio.com. Do we still have that chat room going and stuff?
I believe that we still have the website.
Okay.
However,
Cool.
I think that we have we don't have a Facebook chat anymore.
No, things are being consolidated.
All right.
Consolidated, and
Cool.
we've talked about throwing up a Non-Prophets Reddit, which I would troll often because I'm now on Reddit often.
No, I am not.
Yeah, and the ACA has a Discord as well. You can find it at the link in the description.
Which will definitely be there.
Yes,
We've got
it
time.
will. Yes.
Right. So relax,
We
sit
will
back, and enjoy
prepare
the
that.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that said, we do have a special guest, Johnny. How you doing?
All right, how are you doing? Thanks
wanna-
for having me on.
Yeah, want to tell us a little about yourself?
I'm an attorney. I live in Austin, Texas for now, and I've always had an interest in church-state separation, legal issues, folks' journeys into and out of different faith traditions, and been part of the community on and off for a couple of years now. And
Right on.
Great to have an opportunity to share a little bit.
Yeah, and your voice suggests that you are cousins with Seth Andrews. Is that true?
Ooh, that honey-voiced angel from the north. Yeah, I wish.
I was going to say, the king in the north has a nice voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Not quite so north, but yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait a minute, I'm a Texan. What did I just say? So, Kevin, how have you been? Anything big to share?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little worried. My truck I had to get my truck towed yesterday because it wouldn't start. I have no idea if it's going to cost an arm and leg or not. They're probably working on it right now. So
Just like a baby's arm and leg, so part of your meal, or?
yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So I'm a little stressed about that, but yeah. Aside from that, I had a pretty good week.
Well, that's pretty good. Dennis, what are you up to? What were you doing instead of getting here early today?
I also got my car inspected. Didn't cost me an arm and a leg, but it cost me
Braggy.
most of my left hand. So there you go. Because
In proportions.
because
Hey.
gosh darn, they find some stuff wrong with it here and there. So
Yeah.
they do that.
This has been a week for cars. I
It has.
drive my
Bizarre.
dad's car around because mine was in the shop, and then I ran out of gas on the highway, so that was exciting.
I discovered many years ago. I did something called penciling over breakdowns.
What?
That is, I did the Marvel tryout book and got a response from Marvel saying, "Here, ink some of this other stuff." And so I did some inking tests, and they said, "Here, ink these," and I did that. But before I could finish that, I got a call from Richard Garriott, who said, "Come work for us at Origin Systems here in Texas."
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay," and just that I'm showing pictures of those comics pages that I inked on Twitter lately and stuff. So.
Neat.
What's your Twitter handle? Maybe I'll follow.
I think it's D. Loubet. So, yeah.
I always get the sense that you are more of an artist than a marketer.
Yes,
when we talk
unfortunately.
about
And
your
I
work.
have to become a marketer, but I don't know how. So, yeah.
The internet. Just do that.
Well, I do that. I can't
Do the
tell if they're
internet.
telling me the truth.
Do all the internet.
Because I try to do what they say and nothing happens.
Well, just keep slamming your head against the wall until the wall comes down. and you
Okay.
walk through. That's what I do, and now my voice sounds like this. So
We'll do it live.
Is that how you do it, Jamie?
yeah, that is how I do it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know whether the sound effects that our producers play in our ears are going to go out live, but that was rather humorous. So
Oh, okay. Well, let's get into our first story, shall we?
Sure.
We have
Let's
something out
go
of
right
Nepal.
to the depression here.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Panama.
oh god,
7 killed, 14 tortured in exorcism terror rituals.
Is there ever a
But-
good exorcism?
But religion is harmless.
the metaphorical one of religion from government.
Panama City, 7 people were killed in a bizarre religious ritual in a jungle community in Panama, in which indigenous residents were rounded up by about 10 lay preachers and tortured, beaten, burned, and hacked with machetes to make them repent their sins, authorities said Thursday. Holy shit, I'm reading this for
Jesus.
the first time, so
Oh yeah,
god
Wait,
damn, man.
We often get Dennis to read it because he has.
Police freed 14 members of the Nagabe Bugle indigenous group who had been tied up and beaten with wooden cudgels and Bibles.
They were actually beaten with the Bibles.
Probably.
That is, wow.
It's also should be added. It's stated later in there that some of the lay preachers and their victims were related. So one of the victims was a pregnant woman, and one of
right.
the quote lay preachers end quote was her father. So it's not like some.
Oh no, the
Yeah.
lay preachers were not the ones that were beaten.
No. They were doing the beating.
Right.
In exorcism.
Yeah. Jeez. So local prosecutor Rafael Baloyes,
It's Portuguese.
yeah, described a chilling scene found by investigators when they made their way through the jungle-clad hills to the remote Nagabe Bugle indigenous community near the Caribbean coast Tuesday. Alerted by 3 villagers who escaped and made their way to a local hospital for treatment earlier, police were prepared for something bad. Beloyes said, but were still surprised by what they discovered at an improvised church at a ranch where a little-known religious sect known as the New Light of God was operating. They were performing a ritual inside the structure. In that ritual, there were people being held against their will, being mistreated. That seems to be putting it lightly.
Yeah, I would say so.
Of all of these rites were aimed at killing them if they did not repent their sins, he said. There was a naked person, a woman, inside the building where investigators found machetes, knives, and a ritually sacrificed goat, he said. The rites had been going on since Saturday and had already resulted in deaths, Beloyes said. About a mile, 2 kilometers, away from the church building, authorities found a freshly dug grave with the corpses of 6 children and 1 adult.
Yep.
The dead included 5 children as young as a year old.
You know, all that sinning that he did in the
Their
first year of his
pregnant mother and a 17-year-old female neighbor. Okay. So
Meek and
I just
mild,
got to take a
merciful.
moment here.
Yeah, take a moment. So there's a couple things. that
Okay, anything I can say about this right now would be actionable.
yeah, there's a couple things in even the way the article is written. I'm like, oh, it's a bizarre ceremony. I'm like, no, it's extreme, but exorcisms happen on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's
I don't think they were following the standard Catholic procedure, but that doesn't say much. Yeah. Oh, there was one other thing they said.
Okay.
Some other phrasing that really stuck with me for a moment.
They searched this family out to hold a ritual, and they massacred them, mistreated them, killed practically the whole family, Loubet said, adding that one of the suspects in the killing is the grandfather of the children who were slain. All the victims and apparently all the suspects were members of the same indigenous community.
Yeah.
What I'd like
okay.
to know about that is, how are these small children able to repent of their sins if they're
1
that
year
young?
old? I'm not sure.
Don't
Yeah.
think they possibly could. So was there some element of it, a purging, some sort of a mix between, it was Christian in some flavor,
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
but was
Yeah.
it perhaps some other indigenous ritual or
No.
blood
don't
feud
know.
or something having to do with that?
well. It said that the torture was designed to kill until they repented, and when you're at that age, you don't even really know what that means, much less have anything to repent for.
You may not even be able to speak at that
Yeah,
age.
At 1 year old, I mean,
yeah. You have no concept of that.
yeah.
Ricardo Miranda, leader of the Nagabe Bugle semi-autonomous zone known as a comarca, called the sect satanic and said it went against the region's Christian beliefs. We demand the immediate eradication of this satanic sect, which violates all the practices of spirituality and coexistence in the Holy Scriptures, Miranda said.
So they're not true
The
Christians.
Irony and hypocrisy in that sentence is stunning.
Yeah.
The immediate ratification of people who don't practice coexistence? What the does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how you can coexist with people that are going to drag you away and torture you to death.
Yeah.
I'm glad they believe. I'm glad they believe in coexistence. I'd hate to think what they do if they didn't.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Say, oh, this is the merciful one. Like, okay, don't show me anything else. Just stop what you're doing.
Apparently, the sect is relatively new to the area and had been operating locally only for about 3 months.
That blows me away.
Golly. Yeah. It takes on fast. So the things that I saw about this suggest that it might be like a cult-ish influence of like a very charismatic member of the congregation led them to follow their Christianity in this way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was called. What was the thing called? It
New
was
Light of God?
called New Light of God. I mean,
Yeah.
I think about, when I read stuff like this, I think about a church I used to drive past to go to a friend's place, for years. And, I'd pass this, metal building, and it had the title, His Final Harvest Church and stuff. And I'm going,
Church of Vampires.
what the hell is that, And I don't know, man. Things reportedly came to a head Saturday when one of the church members had a vision. Oh, how convenient. One of them said God had given them a message, Beloye said. That message apparently boiled down to making everyone repent or die. The Nagabe Bugle are Panama's largest indigenous group and suffer from high rates of poverty and illiteracy. It was not clear what belief or affiliations the New Light of God Church has, a well-established evangelical church known as Luz de Mundo said in a press statement that it had no ties to the case. Okay.
Well, I suppose that's a step up from circling the wagons.
Right.
It's
We
not-
don't know what the hell they
You're
are.
impeding their religious liberty by stopping them from murder.
I don't know. I prefer the old Light of God myself.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what
It
was
all
wrong
boils
with
down to they're not real Christians.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
They're
Yeah.
satanic.
yeah,
They're
Jamie.
satanic Christians.
Jamie, we were talking a little bit before the show, and I had a bit of a pedantic gripe about earlier. They mentioned lay preachers. I'm like,
Oh
well,
yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit overly generous because they make this no true Scotsman fallacy later on, saying no, this is a satanic cult. They're not true Christians because they did these awful things.
Yeah. The area is so remote that helicopters had to be used to ferry the injured out to hospitals for treatment. They included at least 2 pregnant women and some children.
So just in case you were wondering whether or not in the modern era, in the Americas, Christianity ever goes, full Christianity, the answer is yes, it does, and
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah,
And we
2020.
learned about it
Yay.
on Tuesday.
So
It's
don't
2020. Religion hasn't really fucking changed.
No.
don't go full Christian. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, never go full.
Never go full Christian.
Yeah. Yeah. Shane.
Johnny?
Johnny,
You got any
you
thoughts?
have a look on your face. Like,
Yeah, that's a great thing to start off with. Is there
Yeah.
something more positive that may
Children murderers.
Yeah,
That's
children
awesome.
murderers.
You,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
haven't, you haven't seen this show very often, Johnny. I think
No,
we often
yeah.
bring up the shame on them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
Just
sorry, I
on this.
picked the order.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, it's great. Children murderers who think
It's-
they're doing the right
we
thing.
can only get better from here.
Yeah.
You know what?
Right.
You're right.
I was gonna say,
You're right.
challenge accepted.
You can't appreciate the light without
But I would
being
say
murdered in the shadows.
Well, yeah, the child torture and murder is.
Beliefs have consequences.
Yes, I can. Yes, that I feel like is the moral of the story. But the thing is, in a certain way, if you're torturing someone, if you believe, right, in salvation and a soteriology that demands that someone repent of their sins and they are living a life that you see as sinful, then in that ideology, or I should say in that dogma, torturing them until they repent and then letting them die immediately after they've repented is a way of sending them to heaven for eternity. So the idea that, oh no, they just didn't understand Christian faith. No, they believed it fully.
It always ends really badly when you put on your Christian hat and try to advocate for them.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's always a little disturbing.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say it always ends really badly when you take your religion seriously.
Well, that too, yeah.
Well, Jamie, do you have a sufficient epistemological framework to make that determination?
That it always ends badly when you take your religion seriously?
And what do you base your morals on?
Oh my God, human beings' existence. Very human-centered. Oh, I had,
Okay.
eat it, Johnny. I had a response.
I mean, I'd like to blame it on the one thing you could do is point to the poverty and illiteracy of that, remote area and stuff, right? But that would indicate that, educated and, affluent people never do this kind of shit.
I would say there's
And of
also-
course, that's not the case either. So,
Less regularity, but yeah.
Well, no, I don't know that you can say that. And I would also say
Yeah.
not everyone that's impoverished and illiterate does this kind of shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good example of, we heard about how supplies and rescue had to be flown in
Right.
by helicopter, right?
Yeah.
So these are people that are isolated.
Yes.
And some bad people got there and created a horrible environment, and it created cult circumstances where
Yeah.
perfectly reasonable, intelligent people, they might not be educated by maybe developed country standards, but they're human beings with the power of reason, but they were still susceptible, as we all are, to cult-like factors. None of us are safe from that. That's why
Yeah.
skepticism and open communication is so important. And maybe they didn't have that available to them.
Yeah, and I think you're more susceptible to this kind of stuff when you are in dire straits like that.
Yeah.
You're hungry and trying to find something to hold on to make your life better or give you
And
some
indeed,
kind of,
my immediate response to this is, something that would absolutely not help the situation.
What is your response? Well, okay, maybe
It would be violent and swift.
I agree with you that would not help the situation.
It would not help the situation.
I feel like having civility and a society.
My response is not civil to this.
It's attractive to want a Batman-like response.
Yes.
Until
precisely.
Batman goes crazy. And now who's going to stop the Batman? Another Batman?
Right.
How many Batmen?
It's Batman's all the way down.
We need more. I need a goddamn Chad Michael Vincent over here. That sort of thing. I knew that would get you.
I'm Batman. Bang! Now I'm Batman.
It's true. There is a very early comic where he uses a gun.
Did you say Chad Michael Vincent?
No, it's Jan Michael.
Jan Michael. Yeah.
Jan Michael Vincent. I hope I didn't say Chad Michael Vincent.
From the dollar store. Chad Michael Vincent.
Chad Michael Vincent. It's off-brand.
Yeah.
He's off-brand, yeah.
Air Fox is his television show instead of Airwolf.
Okay.
All right. We have a
Wait,
second
Yeah.
story.
All right.
Apparently related, so obviously equally uplifting.
No, wait. Hold on.
What?
It's not related. It's a completely different
Or is
country.
it this one?
No, you've got the order right.
Oh, okay.
I do.
Those two are related.
The next two are related.
Yeah.
This one is not related.
Okay, so we're going to a completely different
Yes.
thing. Oh, okay,
Yes.
good.
No more
Good.
torture.
Good. No more torture.
So this one was back in December. Just for
I feel like the last point that I would make on the previous one is that before 3 months ago, that community was just a small Christian community, isolated from what we consider modern life. And then in 3 months, however many of them are dead and they're butchering people to save them. To me, religious faith that's firm like that is at best a dormant virus waiting to become active again.
And Christianity does not help your
Resistance.
means of determining reality from fiction.
Yeah. Christianity doesn't help defend you from Christian cults.
yeah, that timeline really is terrifying.
Yeah.
3 months.
3 months, man.
Okay, so this one then.
It wasn't depressing enough, so I had to add a final nail in your happiness coffin.
The horror was within you all along. Yeah, God.
You've always had the power to be sad.
I said the
Dorothy,
the power to torture children.
Don't use it. All right. Take us to the next story,
Right.
which doesn't involve murder.
Okay, headline. Scottsdale, Arizona officials want $130,000 more to fight Satanists over invocations.
A fantastic use of
Money
taxpayer
well
funds.
spent.
Yes, and this
Right.
was back in this was a December 1st article from last year. It's to give context for the next article.
Right.
Yeah.
The city of Scottsdale, Arizona wants taxpayer money to the tune of $130,000 in order to block Satanists from being able to deliver an invocation before city council meetings. Well, gosh, according to a paywalled article in the Arizona Republic, the city council plans to vote this week, December, in favor of spending another $130,000 to fight the Satanists in court. That's in addition to the $46,093 they've already spent on legal representation so far.
A colossal waste of money.
Holy
to fight,
crap.
Just to fight the First Amendment.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting in the way of their theocracy.
All of this dates back to 2016 when the city council prevented the Satanic Temple from delivering an invocation at one of their meetings. The reason they gave at the time was that the temple had no presence in the city. The chapter was based in Tucson, not Scottsdale, even though they never asked about that during the application process. So why did that issue come up only after the Satanists had been given a green light to speak?
Grasping at straws?
Seemed like a fair question.
Post hoc rationalization.
They're scary.
Yeah,
they must not
that's
be
what I'm
from around
guessing.
here. That is literally the objection that I hear.
Post hoc rationalization for the win. Yes. The Satanic Temple, months later, sent a letter to the council warning them against further discrimination. This time, they had some proof that the council members were actively trying to silence them and that the whole where you are based question was nothing more than a distraction.
So this seems pretty straightforward to me, but I'd like to get your take on it.
Well, it seems to me that it's an example of the majority culture in that particular community is not satanic, and they think that that means that they can exclude them. Like, we don't want Satanists here. We're not Satanists. Therefore, as a community, we're voting to exclude them. And that just shows a misunderstanding of what the First Amendment actually provides for.
Yeah.
There were some Satanists that wanted to participate. And I think we need to remember, ask the question, what kind of Satanists were they? Church of Satanists, Temple of Satanists.
Right.
Sure.
Were
There
they-
is a striking difference between the two.
Yeah.
Were they doing it as a First Amendment exercise? Were they doing it as a legitimate expression of their religious practice?
Those two are not truly distinguishable because a lot of
Right.
the
And
satanic
would they
temples-
apply the same standards to a Christian?
Do we want to have
No.
the government looking into the sincerely held beliefs
Yes.
of
Yeah.
those people?
And I'm not sure if it really matters either.
Break out their sincerometer and, measure.
Hold on to the cans and
Yeah. How much do you really believe this?
Well, also, they shouldn't be asking, well, why do you want to do this invocation? Do you want to do it just for the purpose of, throwing something else out there that isn't Christian just as basically a protest or something like that? Or if you're doing it sincerely, I think the reasoning really doesn't apply.
Well, what I want to know is, let's say it wasn't a satanic group. Let's say it was a Muslim group or a Buddhist group or
Right.
a Zoroastrian group.
Sure.
Would they have fought it so adamantly?
I bet they would.
Probably. I mean,
I don't know.
I
Or
was gonna
not,
say,
we don't know.
well,
Yeah, we don't know.
As adamantly, we don't know, but there was, oh God, I forget.
Is this a case of no true Satanist? I mean,
I don't know if they would have fought it as hard.
yeah, probably. Satan is their main bad guy. So
It's a purposely contentious character, and that's why they embrace Satan.
yeah.
Allah is just, it's the confused name for God that those people over there in that other part of the world have.
Oh, bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts.
I would say, I think you underestimate how exclusionary some Christians can
probably.
be. Yeah.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
All right.
Right. And,
Because everything is Satan sometimes.
and we're, again, I know a lot of Christians, fantastic, wonderful people that are open-hearted and generous and kind, but even they might balk at the notion of having Satanists because that's their big bad. That's their Melkor who became Morgoth. in their Middle Earth, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the Joker.
That was good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Mayor,
I've been listening to the Cimmerillion, so I really wanted to work
Cool.
it somewhere.
well, darn. Then we got to get you, on a interview with the Late Show, so you can
Yeah, I was gonna say.
so you
Yeah,
can
that would
mix it
let's
up
do it.
with what's his name?
Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert, who knows his Tolkien like the back of his hand. It's awesome. Mayor Jim Lane and Councilwoman Suzanne Clapp made various anti-satanic comments to the media that indicate that they wish to use the county's invocation practice exactly for such impermissible government purposes. For example, Mayor Lane stated, in Scottsdale, we've decided to keep our traditional invocations and we've decided to send this Satanist sideshow elsewhere. Lane for Scottsdale 2016 went on to say, he went on to say, not on my watch, not in the best city in America. We're telling the Satanists, hell no.
Okay. Scottsdale's not the best city.
I was going to say,
Cool.
I'm glad that you're proud of your hometown. I don't make that claim about Austin. I just say
that's
that
right.
it's a great place.
Well, we should break out the citiometer and, determine.
Well, one thing that,
You and your fucking meters.
I know. These people are measuring immeasurable things. What the hell's wrong with them?
well, this makes me think, if I might, this makes me think of the notion of they're essentially culture blind to their own practices and traditions there, right? And, I know a lot of people have issues with this concept, but white privilege, male privilege, the default setting is white male, and everything else is a variation of that. This is a notion that some people have. And I think the folks in Scottsdale might have the notion that the basic setting, the normal mode is Christian.
Yeah.
Everything else is a variation that you can choose to allow or not allow.
Right.
And I think that's changing.
I want to see the Venn diagram for this. I mean, you have the big circle of Scottsdale, and then you have the circle in that of Christians, and then you have the tiny little circle in that of Satanists.
Yeah.
Well, one of the arguments is that Tucson is a separate circle. It's
Oh,
all
yeah,
Satanists up there.
Probably.
I was going to say, and I thought that Texans were good at dividing ourselves. And
Right.
with
But there's also the
rivalries
bigger
based on
circle
football usually,
of
but-
Americans, and then there's the Constitution that is the same size as that.
Is this just
under
human?
those laws?
Is this just humanness? Something that traces its way back to the days when we were earlier hominids
Well,
and
it's
we
tribalism for sure.
Well,
existed in these small bands and
yeah.
I would say it is. I think that there's something very human about getting used to a thing that always happens, right? Like how quickly, atrocities committed by our government are just sort of normal and we don't ask about them.
I mean,
It's a heavy note to pause on, but yeah, like it's like, it's always been that way. You're like, yeah. You get used to it.
the Satanists they're an other that they can point to and be scared of and say, no, we don't want you here. It would, even if it means flagrantly violating the First Amendment, they're still going to try.
And this is the aspect of the activist Satanists that I both enjoy hearing about and sort of wish that they weren't using that as the image.
Yeah.
It stirs up the pot. It gets people to talk, but it may divide people. Reasonable positions could be made unreasonable if a Satanist is advocating for it. I get it. Yeah. I get what they're doing. I don't have a problem with it. I don't believe that Satan exists as a being in the universe, as a metaphor, obviously.
Right.
It exists, and using it as a way to sort of, as a skeptic, to frame the way you live in the world, the way you choose to interact with other people, putting humans before deities or metaphysically questionable entities. I get that, but does it also do harm? And I think it kind of does do some harm.
Yeah, it creates quite a spectacle, and there is a bit of a double-edged sword there. Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree. But I think the greater goal that they strive for is, I think it's worthwhile. It's worth some of the drawbacks that you get from the wackier aspects of, okay, these are Satanists doing this. At least, usually.
Yeah, you get that. I would say it doesn't make the reasonable position unreasonable. It makes it unacceptable to some portion of the population, right? Like,
Can you explain that?
So what I mean is that the position hasn't changed if you're going to create religious accommodations, which I actually oppose, on public money and public time. So in that sense, I'm opposed to this. Then you cannot discriminate between you cannot have the government or an agent of the government determine which faith is best.
Yeah. Here's an interesting thing. The lawsuit also pointed out that Lane told his constituents that the invocations were diverse as is, and to prove it, he referred to the respectful, thoughtful messages from Christians, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, and countless other faiths.
Okay.
That was quite a statement, considering that, according to the complaint, at no time have members of the Muslim, Buddhist, or Hindu faith given an invocation before the Scottsdale City Council.
Yeah.
They had the intention of being diverse.
Oh,
I can.
yeah.
Well, if I might say, that's the allegation in the complaint.
Yeah.
And as the lawsuit continues, there's going to be some discovery, and there's going to be some minutes that are going to be turned over to the plaintiffs, and we'll see if there were in fact Buddhists, Jews, Muslims, Zoroastrians, Odinists.
Do you want to take a bet on whether or not there are Zoroastrianists, Muslims, Buddhists?
It's also been
Jews?
pointed out that this entire expensive controversy concerns nothing more than a 90-second invocation.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive 90 seconds.
Wow.
Oh, we also have
Super Bowl
a
ad.
we also
I was
have
about
a
to say.
graphic.
Do
one
we?
of the city council people that I think they were running. Yeah, there it is. They were running for re-election, and part of their flyer that they put up was bragging about how they turned the Satanists away. Yeah.
Stopped so-called, quote, Satanists from mocking city hall traditions with a, quote, prayer.
Right.
So that is a notch on that that city council person's belt, as it were.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, a notch on their bedpost, I guess.
Actually, can you bring
I
up
think
that
a notch on your belt is
bring up that last picture again with the circled? The check mark above it. Help Scottsdale recover from the Great Recession and pro-business policies and without raising taxes. And the one after that believes the public, not politicians, should have the final vote on the, and then et cetera. So this accomplishment is not just like by the way, vote on the Desert Discovery Center in the McDowell Sanatorium Preserve, right? So and I think there should be a referendum to decide this. And by the way, we recovered from a recession. In this list that they've said while they're running, something in the same category. By the way, we told a religious group to fuck off. Because to them, those are in the same category of I'm serving the people. I'm serving the people through explicitly highlighting my religious discrimination.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good point there, Jamie.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would
Fuck off.
brag about turning away, Muslims or Buddhists or any other religious group. They wouldn't go out of their way to put it in their flyer about what a great job they did as a public servant.
Yeah. Because evidently to them, if the complaint is true and they haven't had Hindu, Buddhist, or Muslim invocations, then they're sufficiently willing to list the religions they know and say, we would accept them, or we already have, because evidently they're less offensive to this person's religious restrictions. So they are in favor of theocracy, whether they call it that or not. It's just a slightly permissive one.
See, this is one of the problems of intermingling government, entangling government with religion.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Is essentially you're having governmental entities or staff making religious determinations.
Yeah.
And it's a hop, skip, and a jump from what we see often, which is religious organizations trying to make governmental decisions. I mean, on an individual basis, it's impossible, I think, to separate your metaphysical beliefs from your policies. But when this kind of intermingling takes place, where are the lines, right?
Yeah.
Why have an invocation in the first place?
Yeah, I have a problem with invocation just in general. I think they're silly and completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
We have
Let's do a magic spell before we do our business. What the hell?
We've talked about other preachers and pastors that the government employs for well over $100,000 a year, and all they do is a handful of invocations.
Yeah.
To the Senate floor. It's insane.
Yeah, the House chaplain is in charge of scheduling people that want to do that. It's like, listen, I may not be the best at scheduling things, but I could do that. Pay me.
Weren't there some issues with the president of FFRF trying to speak before Congress to do an invocation, and he was rejected? Mm-hmm. Does anyone know about that?
Last I heard that he lost the appeal.
Okay.
He lost the first appeal. I hope he doesn't appeal it to the Supreme Court, because this one is full of activists, so they'll rule incorrectly. Because it's easy to rule incorrectly on like, oh, well, we're not really violating it. Because when you tell someone this is less objectionable religious discrimination to the common person just going about their day than where theocrats have said they have explicitly explained they would like to go with our laws. So it's either phase 1 or phase 2 of Project Blitz.
And I guess phase 3 is profit, right?
Yeah. Well, they're already doing that at an exorbitant and grotesque way, regardless of how much you love capitalism.
Yeah. So we do have a good wrinkle to that story, which is what you've got right there.
Oh God.
And this is from just about 3 days ago.
Some of the invocation.
This is from a humanist group, not the Satanist group that was trying to get the privilege or the ability to do an invocation, but a nearby humanist group instead. They apparently weren't objectionable enough to block with a bunch of legal actions. So this is the invocation that humanist group gave. Do you want to read that?
I think this is part of the quote. This is part of the invocation as well? Okay. Rather than closing our eyes or bowing our heads, it is customary in a humanist invocation to keep one's eyes open. Look around at your neighbors, your colleagues, your fellow human beings. Humanists have no holy books, only literature and philosophy of humans who have gone before, whose ideas stand or fall on their own merit. My reading for reflection today is from the 20th century activist Saul Alinsky. Lest we forget at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical. From all our legends, mythology, and history, and who is to know where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did so
Did so effectively
that he at least won his own kingdom, Lucifer. The character to some is the personification of evil, and to others a poignant metaphor for free thought and the importance of challenging traditional authority. May divide people of different faiths. God, this thing is loaded with weird and extraneous commas. But no matter our creed, may a fair and religiously neutral government and equal protection under the Constitution unite us all. With these reflections, let us turn our hearts and minds to building a society where hearing all voices is not radical. Thank you all.
That's so much better than a prayer.
Yeah. All right.
Says you.
That's right.
I was going to say, yeah, and that my understanding is that is, in large part, the value that the Satanic Temple sees in the character of Lucifer, is as the rebel, the person that said, no, fuck your celestial North Korea.
A rebel who is apparently God's employee. It's weird. They have a bizarre relationship.
They're quite frenemies.
The devil runs the place where God sends the bad people.
Yeah. Evidently, God's like, well, you don't love me, so I'm going to deport you to hell.
Yeah.
I kind of love how that humanist group, that they chose to inject just the idea of Satan into that invocation, just kind of to rub it in the city council's nose a little bit.
It's not subtle.
Yeah. No, I rather enjoyed that.
But
an act of solidarity.
But is this an example of where a humanist group could get in where
clearly
an outrageous satanic group, although ultimately maybe their views aren't all that different on certain issues?
I would, yeah.
I mean, if you've looked at the values of the Satanic Temple, I'm not. There's one that I quibble over as far as values. I can't remember which one it is, but for the most part, I'm like, yeah, okay,
right,
good job.
Yeah, and their their little commandments or creed is right off the bat, tons better than the Ten Commandments.
It's true.
Yeah.
Some years ago, I was a member of a student organization that talked about workers' rights, environmental justice, various issues like that. And I think that collective bargaining, things like that. I don't think that any of these positions that the group advocated for were particularly radical. I think that they were positions that folks in maybe more conservative parts of the country or parts of the city that we live in would agree with. And one of the problems that I had with that student group was the attempt to radicalize those ideas. Because, and nothing against folks from Kansas, but I would say, you're trying to radicalize these ideas by taking them to a very great extreme. We need to build consensus.
Right.
Folks that are near to us, let's welcome them in. We can agree this far. And now let's talk about going a little bit farther until we can all agree to make a better world.
Yeah.
It's not going to sell in Kansas if you're approaching folks with the Church of Satan. Or maybe it does. I don't know. No one's asking me for my opinion.
Well, I think it's also...
Well, I think we are.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's the wrong way to go. All I'm saying is I have concerns.
It's not the way that you would go.
It might be. I don't know. I would have to really evaluate the facts and the community and see, do they need like a shocker? Do they need to get a splash of water in the face and say, oh gosh, you're right. I shouldn't be trying to force my religious practices on people because that's going to bring in the Satanists.
Right.
And they're doing it tongue-in-cheek or not. But this really shined a light on it.
Yeah. The Satanists are good with their searchlight. I got to hand it to them.
They can...
They'll outmaneuver Christians at every turn.
True, and they do have the Baphomet, whatever statue that they can put up as a counter to whatever religious symbol somebody wants to put up in a courthouse or whatever. A humanist group doesn't really have something like that,
right?
Because they're not a religious group; they're a humanist group. Which is explicitly non-religious.
Well, humanist groups have a lot of things they could pull from. They could do the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. They could do the Magna Carta. They could just have pictures of Sputnik or the dogs that went to the space, or all these amazing human achievements, polio vaccines, photographs of people who've saved billions of lives throughout human history. Feature that.
It's so non-contentious, though, that I don't think it would move the needle.
My thing is, people feel humanity in general is too big a tribe to really rally behind, which is terrible.
I don't feel that way.
That might just be the next leap. And we leapt beyond that. Our group is the 10 hominids who are screwing and picking fruit and hunting animals to, where's this language group with this common belief to, now we're a nation group and now we're humans. I used to say, wait till the aliens invade.
Society.
Wait till the aliens attack us, like in Mars Attacks. We'll find our common humanity then.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope not, though. I don't want to.
Yeah, I was going to say,
blow it up.
The aliens that come this far with the intention of invading, or that end up invading, I'm not sure how well we're going to fare in that conflict. We do have nukes that can go to space. Space nukes for the win.
We need old Apple computers to send a virus into their mothership.
Oh my God!
Was it Ozymandias had the right idea?
No, that's it's Independence Day. Yeah.
Welcome to Earth.
To Earth. What else?
Okay.
Well, so again, I mean,
that's it for that story.
Yeah, that's it for that story.
Well, we got another one.
Yeah.
All right.
Missouri bill would jail librarians who let kids check out inappropriate books.
Potentially jail.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One of the perks of the library system, besides your ability to check out books for free and reserve space and equipment, is that the larger ones will have just about any book you need. If they don't have it, there's a good chance they can acquire it for you. But a Missouri Republican wants to punish any library that carries a book that's very unpopular in the community. State Representative Ben Baker has proposed HB 2044, which would withhold all state funding from libraries if they allow minors to access age-inappropriate sexual materials.
Does he define age-inappropriate sexual materials?
Well, let's see. Baker lays it all out in the bill. Public libraries would have to create a 5-member parental library review board via an election for a 2-year term. Those parents would get to decide what's age-appropriate sexual material. Kids would then be blocked from checking out whatever books are on their list.
I like that he says, those parents, just like, cool, let's find the 5 people that are busybodies with the most spare time.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The worst busybodies in the entire community to lay out the rules for the library.
Just reading that paragraph as you get to the end of it, your blood pressure just starts going up and up and up because you know what this means.
For me, it's actually, I'm suppressing a chuckle because there's a well-known comedy show here that satirizes all things Texas.
Wow.
It's fantastic. Tuna, like a tuna Christmas and a red, white, and tuna and all this. They're great. There's 2 people. They play something like 8 roles each and you don't notice. But there's the organization that 2 of the characters are members of called the Smut Snatchers. And they're mothers that are going around and concerned about the literature that their children have access to.
I've never heard this.
We will make sure that you make it there.
Dennis, your expression is gold.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the next sentence.
I say if you usually listen, cool, keep doing that. But also go to the YouTube for this portion and just check out Dennis's face.
Here's the next sentence. If librarians violate any of these rules, they would be subject to a fine of up to $500 or a year in jail.
I was going to say
$500 or a year in jail? Is there any equivalency in that at all?
I mean,
what the?
Yes, I think so. Essentially, I think they're saying it's a misdemeanor, and during the sentencing phase, it is a criminal violation is what they want to make this.
So,
I think Dennis is shocked that a year of one's life
is worth $500. A year of one's life in jail is worth $500. Wow, I didn't know it was so freaking cheap.
Well, I think
God damn.
I think that's the maximum.
Yeah.
And
well,
the
yeah,
minimum would be
a
$500.
maximum fine of up to $500, or a year in jail is their maximum sentence.
You say, oh no,
Jesus Christ!
All those children coming of age who depended on the public library in order to acquire smut. Where will they?
That's where I went to get my porn.
Where will they turn next for access to age-inappropriate sexual material?
The Barnes and Noble massage section is where they'll go.
How much do you bet they won't put the Bible on that freaking list?
I would wager a hefty sum that the 5-panel of I'm going to run specifically so that I can vote on which smut is too smutty.
It's all about the issue of
It's not going to include the rape and genocide book.
We were talking a little bit about this before the show. You want to weigh in a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think it's not unreasonable for there to be some sort of age restriction on what materials children can access. There are, at your local library, there are videos you can take out, movies, and they carry R-rated movies, right?
Sure.
And I can take them out because I'm over the age of 18, but let's say I were 16 years old and I wanted to do it. Now, could the librarian prevent me from taking that movie out? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
And it's not, The horrible thing here is it's more insidious than just trying to limit porn or,
I mean, to be quite honest,
like that.
the part where it goes and there will be a 5-member panel that will be elected and it'll be 2 years. I'm just like, all right, I now know everything that I need to know about this person's legislative view.
Right. There will be a star chamber.
If the bill that he proposed was, all right, anytime a minor checks out a book, right, their legal guardian should be notified. Period. Of just what it is they've checked out, when, etc. And that a person's legal guardian can say, like, okay, no R-rated movies, nothing with a little green circle, which is what the library in the middle school that I went to had, as far as, this may include adult themes, so it was anyone 5th grade and under couldn't check it out, and then up from that, I think they talked to your parents or something.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
is,
I don't
would be
think
respecting civil liberties in America that specifically recognize parents and legal guardians' rights to shepherd their children through their minor years.
I don't think your local library has porn.
Right. But it says, in theory then, a heavily Christian community could elect a board that says books featuring LGBTQ characters are inappropriate. And then, if librarians allow kids to check out Heather Has Two Mommies or I Am Jazz, books meant to help kids understand LGBTQ identities, they would be severely punished for it.
Yeah. See, the insidious thing is when they just say, no one will do this, as opposed to, hey, why don't we work with parents on what their children read?
Yeah, I think the overall goal is pretty clear here. Yeah. And they're trying to be sneaky, but they're really not very good at it.
Yep.
I'm not sure how sneaky. I'm actually not sure how sneaky they're trying to be. Okay, at least it doesn't seem that sneaky to me. Probably their presentation of it isn't like, and then we're gonna get all the gays out, or whatever.
Yeah, they're not saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah,
but they're really showing their hand.
Yeah. Well, can I ask this?
Yeah.
Let's say they wanted to create a mechanism whereby certain material from the library were categorized for at different age groups. Now, Jamie, you've suggested anyone could take out anything, but there's a mechanism for informing that minor's parent or guardian that this is what's being taken out. And maybe you could have some mechanism whereby some things are cleared for all people to read, and some require parental permission.
Yeah.
That's a restriction, but let's say that would be something that you could do.
Yeah.
Is this a step in a better direction than, let's say, having a librarian who has the same views as those people on this hypothetical panel, who's just going to, by one person fiat, deny it to everybody? And there is no public process to check that person's beliefs. Right. There's just a black box in the back of that person's head saying, no, that's got gay stuff, you can't have it.
Well,
or no, that's got gay stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, the library hasn't purchased that.
You know what this will create? This will create the equivalent of finding some guy, some adult, to go into the store and buy the beer for you. So you'll find some adult to go in and check out the books you want to read anyway.
So here's my thing is, I have friends that work in public libraries, and they talk about, because public libraries often include, a place where you can go to print out your documents or whatever, because no one owns a printer anymore, because why would you ever want such a frustrating machine in your house?
It's got rid of mine.
Yeah. I haven't. I've kept mine because I like to be able to print things. But they also often, and people come in here looking for what we don't have, publicly available computers that you can do, and they talk about how they end up having to walk through the aisles of public computers because people that don't have a computer at home go there to watch or download porn. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, your approach to this is so old-fashioned that you've missed the largest supplier of pornographic material to children out there, the internet, as I alluded to.
Yeah, I was going to say, this
civil liberties are still there, and I don't like it, but I'm also like, this isn't really going to accomplish what you're trying to.
Yeah, it feels silly because it feels like they're trying to solve a non-existent problem.
Well, there's a thing they don't like, and they want it to go away.
Well, Jamie, you're talking about porn, though. We're talking about LGBTQ material.
True.
Is there any LGBTQ porn out there?
Yes, that also exists. However, there's also you would see shocked.
I've seen
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Innocent Johnny over here is Johnny Innocent.
Johnny Angel.
I was gonna say Johnny Angel. You may have a different time booking gigs on either shows with him, but
So, okay, you just
middle
reminded
name
me.
Christian.
You reminded me what I was talking about earlier is they're trying to be sneaky because I think the way that they're phrasing it is to protect children from pornography, but really what they're very clearly trying to do is, in their words, protect children from, learning about
Ideas,
other expressions of oneself that these parents don't like.
We had talked a little bit about this earlier, about the notion of what standard that a government can take action by when it restricts civil liberties. And to all my, the lawyers out there that see me now going on the internet to look it up, I do apologize that I didn't have this memorized from law school to the current date, but I'm at law.cornell.edu, which is a pretty decent website for free stuff. And we talk about when something restricts civil liberties in certain categories, and when we're talking about free speech, it's going to be subject to strict scrutiny. And there's different standards. There's rational review, there's intermediate, and then there's strict scrutiny. And the law treats these kind of issues particularly seriously because they are First Amendment issues. And when the First Amendment starts collapsing, a lot of other things start as a cascade failure, to quote Geordie LaForge from Star Trek. But the strict scrutiny is the highest standard of review which a court will use to evaluate the constitutionality of governmental discrimination. And to pass strict scrutiny, the legislature or a governmental entity is going to have to narrowly tailor that law to further a compelling governmental interest. Okay, and each single word in that sentence, narrowly tailor the law to achieve a compelling governmental interest, has been litigated since the very beginning. So is it compelling to prevent children from having access to inappropriate material? Is it narrowly tailored to categorically ban and furthermore make a librarian face not just a fine of $500, but more importantly, jail time?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's really where that analysis is going to go. And if it fails strict scrutiny, then it's out the door.
So isn't a portion of strict scrutiny that it must be the least obtrusive way of accomplishing the state's interest? Because the one that I just suggested is less obtrusive.
Yeah, and there's your argument right there. I found another way to meet the same goal of not letting kids check out porn.
Yeah.
Let's do it this way.
Well, while keeping in mind that the Supreme Court in decisions has recognized to a high degree a parent's right to raise their children. Yeah.
I know one thing that would help. Make a portion of the law state that the members of that board have to read every word of the books they're banning.
They
will be tested, and if they fail the test, they will be excluded.
So they must present a book report to the librarian who...
So would you say that this is overly zealous, or?
I think so. I mean, again, you're asking me. But I'm not generally being asked. But it seems like it's overly restrictive. It wouldn't pass strict scrutiny.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, don't you think that when legislators or what have you, governmental people decide to put these kind of laws forward, they're not doing it because they think it's going to get passed. They're doing it.
Right.
They're jockeying to show
pandering.
They're pandering. Yeah. And who can really tell? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
The shadow knows.
Yeah.
It says here, this isn't the first time bakers had a dumb idea. Years ago, There's a little editorializing going on in this article.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
No
just a
spin,
little
no
bit.
spin.
Years ago, he tried defending a giant Christian cross on public property. Last year, he pushed for Bible classes in school. That bill passed the state house, but not the state senate.
Look, as long as they're not mandatory, that is
Well, so here's my thing.
on its face fine.
Here's my thing is you have a state legislature voting to instruct specific classes in school, and I get that, right? Like government controlling government institutions as a broad concept. However, knowledge isn't subject to a majority vote. Period.
Right.
There's objective facts, and the anti-intellectualist culture in this country runs deep everywhere. It's why even sort of lefty types are like, well, I don't know about GMOs. Why should I listen to scientists about that or vaccines? It's like, no, maybe acknowledge that you don't know everything, and maybe acknowledge that what you think and believe isn't something that should be enshrined in law. The things that should be enshrined in law are the supremacy of law, basically.
Yeah, I joke with my friends whenever I say something and they disagree with me and they all gang up. I say, well, truth isn't democratic, friends. Right.
But I'm still right.
But in some regard, because there may or may not be objective facts out there, we are human beings. We don't have access to all the facts, what is best. And part of the way that our society and our government is structured is based upon a kind of voting that what facts are true. I mean, that's not the last word, but you know, there was I read somewhere a long time ago how this could go wrong. Some legislature in Indiana umpteen years ago voted to make pi 3. Do you remember hearing about that ever?
Oh, God. Yeah.
And this is an example of truth not being democratic.
Because that's not what pi is. So.
In litigation matters, for example, right? Let's say there's a car accident, right? No one truly knows what the truth is, but there's a jury that decides what that truth is. They might get it right, they might get it wrong, but that's a kind of voting what the truth is.
Well, it's yes, but again, the problem isn't just the structures, right? Give me any government structure that you want, and if I can dictate what 90% of the population or what a majority of the population or what a very, very active 10% of the population believe, your structure cannot withstand it, right? The largest popular uprising in human history, the largest revolution, was 10% of the population that decided to do that. It doesn't take a lot to destroy a government, right? I mean, I'm not encouraging that. Don't do it. You know, unload your weapon, you're fine. But what I'm saying is it takes a culture and an understanding that we all agree, okay, there are objective facts, and whether or not we like them, we will rely on the people who are best equipped in knowledge and experience and technique to determine them and to accept them, right? And then you can argue about public policy from there. But that's not everyone's fundamental underlying values, right? Mine, I get very frustrated because I often see even people that agree with me on policy not having the same sort of understanding that I do of what American values are, to use I'm trying to find a less divisive statement than, no, fuck your feelings, there are American values and they revolve around the protection of people's rights to express their views, even when they're toxic.
That doesn't fit on a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I have not gone into the bumper sticker business and don't think I would be successful. They would be more like the posters is what I should do.
I find it
with small
frustrating,
font.
even when someone has what I feel is the correct position, but they have it for the wrong reason or for a bad reason.
Yeah.
That's still very frustrating.
Yeah.
I listened to your arguments, I listened to someone else's arguments, and then I flipped a coin and it came up heads, so I agree with
like
you.
You're pro a woman's right to choose because you don't want to end up having to deal with a baby that you don't want to take care of. Like that's not
Wow.
that's not the fundamental underlying reason that you should have that position. Your own greed isn't the right reason, but at least you're right.
I'll be honest, I'd never explicitly thought out the pro-choice bro argument before, but I think I've just heard it.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Like, okay, yes, but that's a bad reason.
Yeah, it's a bad reason a lot. And then
Sure.
Do we want to do any mail?
I was gonna say,
Yeah, I think we got about 10 minutes left.
do we?
All right.
We have some mail about First Amendment stuff.
Oh, bring it.
I wanted to.
Do
And then we also have at the end to follow up on that a short Trump thing about faith in public schools and prayer in public schools specifically, which is First Amendment.
well, Chuck, again, one of our prolific
Yeah, Chuck's one of our
listeners.
favorites.
Yes. The First Amendment starts, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. State legislatures and city councils aren't Congress, so the First Amendment doesn't restrict their power. The 14th Amendment prohibits state laws that deny people's rights as U.S. citizens, but that still leaves cities. Local laws requiring prayer in public schools don't appear to be unconstitutional.
I know this one.
Or is that the case?
I know this one. And so it's the doctrine of incorporation, that the protections of civil liberties outlined in the federal Constitution apply to the states as well, as a ruling. Additionally, you can't. So the idea being like, oh, okay, well, we'll let a city council fuck with people's rights, but not the federal government, was something that was incompatible with the Enlightenment ideals of universal human rights, which were the basis for the founding of our country. Boom.
In large part, cities and counties aren't functionally distinct from states when it comes to these kind of issues.
Yeah.
Exactly for that. Well, not for that reason, but
Yeah.
were it otherwise, you would just
Be chaos.
broaden the powers of the city to do
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
You say, yeah, don't they get their legal existence and authority, isn't it derived from the state government?
Yes.
Yeah. And then,
Sure.
so it's the state and not the county, because I know the county is a function of the state, but in the same way that federal departments had derived their legal authority from Congress, right, even though they're instructed by the... I'm going to stop myself now before I geek out unrelatedly about the law. Johnny is realizing that he needs to leave quickly after the show, or I will occupy the rest of his day.
So Chuck is a little mistaken here.
Well-
is what y'all are saying.
Yeah, his reasoning with the information that he had was valid, but doctrine of incorporation, which is from a Supreme Court ruling in which is called blah, blah, blah. I don't know the citation, do you?
No, of course not. But
It's too basic.
but Chuck, keep those ideas coming. It's good to think these things through.
Yeah.
Sniff out every. Don't sniff out anything. Sweep out every corner looking for
Loopholes.
Loopholes.
Yeah.
Close those loopholes. But explore all aspects to a question like that. If it were the case that in fact cities were somehow exempt from these type of government protections, then all of these lawsuits that were brought over the last 50 or 60 or 70 years would be invalid. But if I might say that the Freedom from Religion Foundation does put out a lot of material about this issue, deals with a lot of prayer in school issues, deals with a lot of invocations, speakers at graduation, and they put out a weekly or semi-weekly videos on those subjects, and so you can really educate yourself. In preparation for this today, I watched a lot of those type of videos. I read up on my law, but then also watched some talk shows from the other side. And there was a kind of we want to have the prayer in the school, get over it, snowflake. If you don't like it, leave.
It's
And
a compelling legal argument.
I was going to say, we don't want the government to tell anyone how to pray. Get over it, snowflake. Your civil rights exist. Well, I can say the word snowflake too. Fuck off.
right.
Yeah. Man, it's
That attitude of
very Christian attitude.
my way or the highway is bad for all people.
Yeah.
Because we all live here together.
Yeah.
And let's try to figure out what actually works best. Let's not rely upon edicts from thousands of years ago.
Right.
Or edicts that were invented last week because
Yeah.
it makes us feel good. Let's explore it. Let's have a conversation. And don't be afraid to talk with people who don't agree with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or edicts from 3 months ago. That can go bad.
I was gonna say it only takes 3 months.
Extremely bad.
I would say it's interesting because there's the video where I went with a couple people from here to testify before the Texas State Board of Education, right? And one of the people that said, it was young and a proponent of the sort of religious national ideas in education that we talked about, Alexis de Tocqueville, when he came here, visited and saw how Christian we were and said that's why we were going to be great. And it's like, no, he saw, I think his phrasing was like the skill of association or the ability of association, which is we all go along and get along. That is what will make the United States strong, right? And you read things written in the 1800s about New York City and about the United States where it's like, people don't actually care what their neighbor's religion is. They all do work and then move along with their lives. And I'm like, the history of our country is rich with this. We just fucked it up with slavery.
I'd rather see teasing loyal opposition, right? I have a friend who's a very staunch believing Christian, and we do a little bit of teasing each other. I'm a heathen, and he's really into mythology, right? But we respect each other. We don't agree, but we agree on an amazingly large amount of things, and I love that.
My father and I do the same thing, basically, anytime we're in the same place at the same time. Yeah.
That's nice.
So we have a couple minutes left. I wanted to point out, because some of our viewers will probably have heard that Trump did a rally and an announcement as he announced new rules governing prayer in schools. And one of the uplifting things that I can say, as I can say so rarely on the show anything uplifting, is that they appear to not depart from the old ones very much at all. They cover the same ground. As usual, Trump has accomplished very little and spoken about accomplishing quite a lot. We will not let anyone push God from the public square. We will uphold religious liberty for all. Missing, of course, that specifying rules of this kind where government can, talking about what and to whom people pray is religious tyranny and not freedom. But I wanted to highlight the fact that even though the legal restrictions didn't change in that big a way, that this is another silo in the culture war, something that he referred to specifically, talking about taking the word of God down or things happening today that 10 or 15 years ago would have been unthinkable. I agree, but those things are what you're saying and not what you're wanting to have happen. All of these things are couched and as a way of playing to, again, the public mindset, which is the most important battlefield, because presumably still our government is ruled by laws, and what you can get away with and how much you can destroy American institutions is what the people will stand, what the people will bear, and not vote you out. And they're really pushing that, and Trump's base is entirely evangelical. Turn out to vote if you would like your voice heard. Also, one of the specific things that was said is like, students across our country still find their First Amendment freedoms under attack the moment they set foot on our school, even denied the freedom to pray together during free times. That's been unconstitutional. It was unconstitutional before, and I would have fought for it as well, as would the Freedom from Religion Foundation. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or they're lying. Not a source of information. However, not that much changed. Trump doesn't know what he's talking about and talks a lot, so at least that portion is uplifting. Also, we have a special treat for you at the end of the show of an advertisement for a company that sells batteries that we... you want to roll the clip?
I never would have guessed.
Mysterious.
I'm telling you now, this is an advertisement put out by a company that sells batteries.
Is it real?
It's real. Have you seen it before?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, I
It
was gonna
looked
say,
like it was a mashup.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to know the types of things that can finally render me speechless, as I know my co-hosts desperately want,
Yes.
it's this.
We need more of God's love so we can love one another. More of God's love to help us love one another right now.
I'm like, oh.
Okay, I get it. Like, if someone had said, like, hey, that's like the intro for like a Sunday school class, I would have been like, all right, I understand what you're going for with the little like soft rock in the background and the like, I'm seeing a cheery, but what?
Then it just ends with interstate battery.
Hey, we sell batteries.
What
It's
the
like,
hell? I don't. Yeah.
okay. I get it. Like, hey, if they're trying to capture basically internet marketing, which is like, look, we did something ridiculous. Now look into our company and buy things. They should know that that's not how people shop for batteries.
How can we pander our asses off?
You know
Sell
what? That
them
was
in your
fun.
This is a way
gift
to
shop.
do it.
Like, yeah.
I find that hilarious. It just
man.
comes so far out of left field, and
I know.
it every time I've seen it, it's made me laugh.
I feel like I can end the show by saying interstate batteries, way to go.
Interstate batteries, or we'll send you to hell.
No, need more of God.
Or
We've
else.
got the heart shape, which is based on anatomy. In its
I'm a
origins.
Duracell man myself. I don't know about you guys.
Duracell, America's
Satanic
battery.
Duracell batteries.
I was gonna say, I want to see Duracell just do. Can we get all the battery companies to pander themselves? I think I saw the Energizer Bunny doing the floss dance.
Oh yeah, let's get
in
them
an
to
ad.
pick a religion, and then we can have
That's right.
No,
a new battery.
Not all religion.
war.
We should get Duracell to be like, you drive a truck, you're a man. Duracell. It brings you electric power, like your muscles that you have. Guns. Duracell.
Call your local representatives. Ask them to speak to Duracell. Really get the word out because you have that power.
They
I was
should
going to say,
do.
ask your doctor if
a Satanist.
Duracell is right for you.
They should do a Satanist commercial. That's what they should do.
That's
And
right.
say, we need more of Satan's rebellion to power cars. I don't know.
You didn't have the humanists. You had the power within you all along.
I was going to say, throughout history, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison, more prominently, Nikola Tesla, have mastered the power of electricity. Here for you. Human batteries, would be a very interesting
The
name
Matrix.
Yeah,
will.
and Keanu Reeves is really big right now,
That's
so he
right.
could be the.
He is. He has been dubbed
enormous.
America's boyfriend.
How
by
did
the
that
internet.
happen?
Yeah. Tom Hanks is America's dad.
Just by being
Who
an
hopefully
awesome guy.
approves of America's boyfriend.
Who's Idris
Keanu
Elba?
Reeves. I don't know. He's America's cool friend. Like,
Right. America's wingman.
I don't know.
not everyone is
Isn't he
America's
British?
something.
Oh,
All right.
I
So
believe
he's
so.
He is.
he's
I think.
Idris Elba. I don't
I
think
think
he
we've
needs
gotten
a
off
thing.
topic in
We've
this
gotten way. How are we supposed to stay on topic? What does that have to do with? It's like, hey, God will make you happy no matter what situation you're in. Buy
That's
a
right.
battery.
a little bit of love. Perhaps not God's love, but perhaps just a little bit of love in those trying circumstances of when you're stuck behind traffic or your job sucks or your kids are lousy for the day. A little bit of love and understanding.
Right.
Let's take the positive message from that strange battery commercial.
I was gonna say,
Whatever.
Maybe they were just trying to do a PSA, right? That
Yeah.
sort of puts it in a. I don't know that they know what the acronym means, but the yeah.
Well, doesn't it say behind GOD, guaranteed overnight delivery?
Yeah, on the little
Maybe that's
model
the
truck.
God that they're talking about.
be.
Do they deliver batteries? Do they have an app? I run out of batteries and random shit in my house all the time, and then it's like, oh no, I'm not going to drive all the way to the store just for AA batteries. Like that, I would. Okay, if they were the only company that delivered batteries, I would buy batteries from. Yeah.
Well, it's because they're powered by God's love.
That's right.
If they said, "Oh, our batteries work by God's love and only that," I would say yes. But do you also charge them? And if they said no, then I would not buy their batteries.
I think we're out of time.
I think we're out of
Yeah,
time. Just in
think
case
so.
you're wondering, don't trust God's love to either power or find your TV remote. You
That's
can do
right.
it on your own with batteries.
God helps those who help themselves to find their TV remotes.
I say, yeah.
Except when he doesn't.
All right.
And if anyone, and
Taking us out.
And if anyone has spare AAA batteries, my remote at home is out. So.
Well, that was our show. We hope you enjoyed it. We will be back in 2 weeks on the 2nd of February.
Yes.
All right. So I wanted to make sure that was correct.
2nd of February.
I'm looking at a lot. I'm looking at
Duracell Monster Truck Rally.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.